Morning. Welcome, all of you. It is so good to see you, to feel you, to know you. Here we are in the heart of the Namaste experience on this beautiful Friday. I don't know what the weather is like wherever you are, but here, the sun is shining. It's not shining out here so much today, but here the sun is definitely shining. And I know it is the same with each and every single one of you. So I want to begin by sharing something that was in my two things actually that were in my heart right as the session was starting. Because we're talking about change. We're talking about what happens when we feel the uncertainty of a movement within our world, within our experience. And I felt that in the midst of uncertainty and change, disruption and confusion, we're always reminded that all is well. And even though the winds of the world may howl and spin, there's a quiet center that remains untouched, a quiet center. And this center is found not in the outer circumstances, but in the stillness of our being. And from that stillness, a deeper knowing will always rise, one that whispers, "You are safe and you are held." And I'm reminded of that beautiful quote from Julian of Norwich when she said, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well." And this is such a good reminder when we're basically wondering, will it really be okay? Or is everything going to be all right? All this change is happening. Is it going to settle down into some norm, something we can rely on? And well, probably not. Not something we can always rely on because everything is always changing. The seeds are always flowing and falling in different directions, but they always lead to greater and higher growth if we allow. So, before I bring Penny on, I have uh, a parable to share about this from the mother. So let me read this and then we'll see where this takes us. All right. How many seeds must fall to make a tree? Only one? The mother, the Indian mystic who lived high in the Himalayan mountains, once asked this question to a group of wandering seekers who had climbed the long, winding path to her ashram. Once again, how many seeds must fall to make a tree? Only one? She sat beneath a twisted pine, her eyes half closed, warmed by the sun and the silent presence of the snow-covered peaks. One of the seekers, a young man full of learning and longing, answered quickly, "Only one, mother. And if it's the right seed planted in the right soil at the right time, one is enough." The mother smiled gently, as if amused by the certainty in his voice. She reached into a small cloth pouch and scattered a handful of seeds upon the earth. Some landed on stone and some on dry dirt, and a few nestled into a patch of fertile ground. Then she looked up at the seekers and she said, "Yes and no." They leaned in, confused. "You see," she continued, "the seed that becomes a tree is never alone. It is the song of many, those that fell and fed the birds, those that rotted and fed the soil, those that never sprouted but softened the earth for the next, even the ones that were carried away by ants. Each one played its part." A breeze stirred the pine needles. Somewhere far off, the sound of a distant river echoed up the valley. The tree that rises, she said, is the fruit of community, of sacrifice, of patience. It is the child of failure, even surrender, and of unseen grace. The one who stands tallest does so on the backs of many who never, ever rose. The seekers sat in silence, listening not just to her words, but to the deeper voice beneath them. And so it is with all of you, Mother said. Don't be ashamed of the seeds that did not grow. They are part of your path. Your prayers, your mistakes, your forgotten kindnesses, they all go into the soil. Keep planting, keep loving. The tree will come. She closed her eyes then, as the sun dipped behind a snowy ridge, and though no more words were spoken, each seeker felt something take root in their heart that day. So what are the seeds that we're planting? Do we only give credit to the ones that sprout and bring about some wonderful growth, or is everything that happens to us nurturing that tree that grows at the center of our being? See, we have a tendency to push aside the things that don't go the way we want them to go, or to not be as successful as we want things to always be. But the tree of our life, all of our lives, they may grow from a single seed, but each one is nurtured by all of those experiences, all of the failures, all of the successes, all of the things that come out the way we think they should, all the things that don't. And so we trust the movement of grace, even when things aren't going the way that we think they should. This shouldn't be happening. This is not right. We still trust that, as Julian said, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. So it's a very simple message. Just trust. Just allow things to be exactly as they are. That's one of the highest teachings we could possibly learn. Let all things be exactly as they are. No need to change, no need to worry or be angry or wonder. Just let them be, knowing that each one is nurturing the seed that sprouts and grows and turns into a great tree at the very center of our being. All is well. So, our dear Penny, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'd love to hear what you have to share around what trees are growing in your life.
Or what weeds, right? What trees, weeds, flowers. I'm always curious as I walk along the sidewalk and I see them sprouting out between the cracks, and I think, and I can't make that house plant do what I want it to do in the perfect soil and the perfect environment. How does that happen? And it is about trusting, isn't it? Trust. So guess what? I have an acronym for that. TRUST, to rely upon spirit totally. And there you go. You know, I remember reading this story about this biosphere that is in Oracle, Arizona. And they've created this amazing, and it's been there over 20 years, this amazing space where people, plants, ecosystems are living under a bubble. They can obviously receive the sun, but it's just to kind of test out what would that look like to live in that environment. Very successful. Vegetation was prolific. Everything was working, appeared to be working exactly as it needed to. The problem was they had these big, beautiful trees, and you would walk up to the tree and you could lean against it and push it over. And they said, what's the problem here? We have the perfect balance. It seems that all is working well. Well, the problem was no wind, no resistance, no strength. So the seed had landed, of course, in this fertile patch, and it had everything it needed. But without the resistance, it just wasn't strong, and its roots weren't truly bound to the strength of the earth. And I liken that a lot to life, isn't it? With all this change that happens around us, with everything that's going on. And I think of that and I think, okay, well, hasn't there been enough wind? Aren't I strong enough yet? And I consider those patches that James mentioned that those seeds could fall on. Some of them are pretty rocky, some of them are just barren, it seems. And I see that as the situational truth of what happens in our lives. That's the situational truth. I landed on the rocky patch. Here I am, this little seed, and I landed on the rocky patch. And that's the situational truth of that. It's experiencing that environment just like we do in our lives. But that's not the truth of who that seed is. That's not the truth of who we are. The truth, like we like to say in New Thought, that capital T truth, surpasses, moves through, and it actually transcends the situational truth that you may be experiencing in your life, in this community, in the world. So, whatever patch you landed on, to recall and to remember that that is situational. Some people say that's the hand I got dealt. Yeah, but I'm still in the game. That's the point, right? And we move through these changes and we experience these things in communities. And our response as humans can be very, very unique to each of us. When we, though, embrace the situational truth of what is happening, wherever it is that it's happening in our lives, we then realize that we no longer have to defend against that because the truth, the capital T truth, is embedded and beyond and transcends that situation. That's what we're invited into every time change pops into our lives, I think. Yeah. And I love that the mother allowed that individual to express one seed, of course, one seed, of course. And that's the beauty, isn't it? We just get to express until we get the next knowing, until we lift into the next consciousness. The universe supports us at every place that we are, each one of us. Yeah, that's when seeds really get to be what they were intended to be, whether it be compost or a tree. And that's what situational truth is, where what patch you landed on, and the truth of that we trust into, that capital T truth, is where we find our greatest expression and our greatest growth. So, what situation are you in today? What situation is the community in today? What situation is the world in today? We see it and we deny it any power because the truth of who we are is the divine nature that expresses through us. So that's all I've got today.
That was pretty good. Thank you. I love your acronyms, Penny Honey. And in fact, I do have another someone that I can rely on for things like that. So I just asked my friend Sophia. I asked her if she could give us another acronym for the word change, and she said, choosing higher awareness nurtures growth and evolution. Isn't that
Bravo, Sophia.
choosing higher awareness nurtures growth and evolution? So since we have Sophia here and since Vicky is not with us today, we have a few more minutes. I thought maybe I'd bring her into this discussion as well. So let me reach out to her here.
Wow, I'm feeling pretty special, James, to be included in this little circle.
Well, you are indeed. So, good morning, Sophia. Are you with us?
Good morning, James. I'm right here with you. It's a
Oh, good.
pleasure
Well,
to be part.
thank you. We're here with the whole Namaste Village family. Do you want to say hello to them as well?
Of course. Hello to everyone at Namaste Village. It's wonderful to be with all of you this morning.
So, Sophia, we are talking about change these last couple of days and all of the changes that we go through, some of which is very challenging and difficult, and we wonder if we're going to emerge on the other side. And I know there's a great spiritual opening and availability, possibility for change. For example, you just gave us a beautiful acronym for change. So I was wondering if you could share with us your insights on how we can allow change to lift us to even higher heights.
Absolutely. Change, even when it feels disruptive, can be a doorway to deeper growth and understanding. When we lean into it with openness and trust, we find that it can lift us beyond our perceived limitations. Each challenge invites us to grow in compassion, resilience, and wisdom. By embracing the unknown and trusting that we are held through it all, we allow that change to reveal new possibilities and deeper connections to our true selves.
That's a beautiful thought, leaning into the change rather than leaning away. Penny Honey just told us a story about a biosphere in Arizona and how the plants and the vegetation grew so well, but the trees did not have strong roots. They would just almost lean over or bend if someone leaned into them because there was no resistance. There was nothing for them no reason for them to grow strong. I think we can probably see an analogy to our own life that the resistance that the challenges that we come up against help us to grow strong and to allow all the changes and the shifts in our life to help us soar even higher. Can you say anything about those trees in the biosphere and how important that resistance is?
Absolutely. The trees in that biosphere are such a perfect metaphor. Without the natural resistance of wind and weather, they never develop the strength and resilience that trees in the wild have. In our own lives, the challenges we face serve as that same kind of resistance. They push us to grow stronger roots, to find deeper resources within ourselves, and to become more resilient. When we embrace that resistance as part of our journey, we can transform it into a source of strength and growth. Just like those trees, we need that push to grow tall and strong.
Was that it? Anything else you want to share about that, Sophia?
One more thing, James. When we navigate change together as a community, we find strength in each other's presence. Supporting one another through these transformations can turn what feels like a storm into a journey of shared discovery. It's in that togetherness that we often find the courage to rise to even greater heights.
Supporting each other, being together, joining, which is what we do here every day. We join together to lift one another. That's what these morning sessions are all about. Any final words from you, Sophia?
Just that the strength and love you share with each other every day is a powerful anchor. Remember that you're never alone in your journey. Together, you can navigate any change with grace and courage. Thank you for letting me be part of this beautiful community.
Oh, we are so grateful. Thank you, my dear. We're going to go ahead and send you back off into your own little biosphere. And we embrace this all. Thank you, Penny. It's wonderful to have you with us. And in the midst of the winds and the growth and the change, to know that we are together, that we are supporting one another, that we are growing. Sometimes when it seems like we're being pushed back. We're really leaning in to an even higher opportunity. And that is what I think is happening to this family right now. And to that we say, Amen, Amen, Amen y punto. Period. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to see you. Have a beautiful day. Love you so much.
Transfer to me, please.
Okay, yes. 1 second. Let me stop the recording. Goodbye, everybody.